Hello everybody, I'd like to just go ahead and start a little documentary on what's going on with my salt tank. But I also have questions. I'm going to go ahead and pop some tags on here for New York Stilo and other aquariumists out there. I'm running into some problems with this here tank, so I'm now on, I do believe, either week 8 or week 9. So I started the tank with just my live dirt, my live sand, and I went for the deep seabed like Stilo. I went with 1 pound of live rock in the display per gallon. So this is only a 20-gallon tank. So I let it cycle, got my ammonia down to 0, my nitrate and my nitrite down to 0. I had it tested every week until it was at 0, so it took about 3 weeks to get everything down to nothing or undetectable levels. But I have this red algae stuff here. So what we did, Stilo, you advise, or others advise, cleanup crew. Cleanup crew is very, very important. So I started with 5 Necerian snails. There's one shell there. One has died. I left the shell in there specifically for other reasons that I'll get to in a minute. So started with 5 Necerian snails. I'm down to 4. The other 4 are doing great. They're scavenging well. As I feed, I make sure to feed only pellets that my clowns can actually eat, and eventually maybe 1 or 2 will actually hit the ground, not many. So I don't know how well my Necerian snails are actually feeding, since I'm making sure that not much food goes to waste. I did get Turok snails. I got 3 of them. There's one up there on there now. There's another one right there. He's on his side. I don't know if he can get up or not. There's another one in there somewhere. And I also got 7 teeny tiny blue-leg snails, or blue-leg crabs, or hermit crabs. So they're in here somewhere. Literally, the 3 of them can fit on your pinky at a time. They're so small. So I need to get some additional shells to put in here as they grow. So this is the way my tank is set up now. I got a 205 power head there. I got another 205 power head in the back left that you can barely see. I have a 405 gallon per hour power head facing this way. This will keep my circulation going back to front and then left to right. Now what I did do, this is my wife decided she liked the black Nemo, so I got a pair. The black and white one is male, the orange one is female. So she wanted to name the black one Jack Sparrow for Pirates of the Caribbean. And I sat for weeks and weeks and weeks and thought, well, what am I going to name the orange one? And I couldn't figure any good names, so now it's become Jack and Jill. So my tank setup, I have this overflow system here. I got this from DIY Fish Keeper. What it is it's PVC, and typically the overflow just cuts to the top, but what I did was I Swiss cheesed the top of that pipe, so that's why it's a little quieter. As you can tell, it's not very loud. So it overflows in from there and down, and it goes down to my refugium. Now, the refugium is very, very bright, so be careful. I'll just try to study it. I have a 12-pound in a 10-gallon tank down here. Actually, that's not 12 pound. It's probably, I don't know, 5 or 6. I got that rock down there just to try to siphon out some of the bacteria, get some bacteria on it. So my first chamber has my pipe coming down. You'll notice there is no skimmer yet. I don't really think my shelving unit has the height in order to put a protein skimmer. So right now I'm not going with that. My second stage has Miracle Mud at the bottom. Miracle Mud was great. So far, so good anyway. And then, of course, I have my macroalgae, which is my Chaetomorpha. And my Chaetomorpha growing. Then my overflow and down into my pump with my heater, then returning back to the primary display tank. My questions I'm having and the problems I'm doing is I'm trying to, I want to support SPSs, LPSs, anemones. I want to go Reef But as I talked to my shopkeeper, so I went to my local store, and I told him I had this like red, I thought it was red hair algae. You can see it's kind of wavering there. And the shopkeeper said, there's no way I have red hair algae. And I said, well, I got it from your store. Most of my rocks came with this algae on it. So I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And you can see here now I'm starting to grow green algae where the snail is. So I know my ammonia levels, my nitrate levels, and my nitrite levels. I continually test that on a weekly basis, and I'm showing 0 across. I'm not feeding very much, just only what they can eat, and I'm doing it probably twice a day on the weekdays, since I have early morning and late night. And then on weekends, you know, if I put my hand up to the top, they'll come up when they're hungry, and I'll just drop a few, maybe 3 or 4 pellets, and they'll scarf them just from the top of the tank. So I know that there's not a lot hitting. So my question now is, are these diatoms, are those just normal algae? Is it green hair algae, red hair algae? I am noticing some detritus buildup. You can see it there in the corner, so I'm guessing I need to suspend it more. I went with the very fine sand, so if I put the power heads down too low, it kicks up a very nasty dust, and my tank becomes very, very cloudy. So I'm trying to stay away from doing that. But what I am noticing is, so that of which I do suspend here goes in through my overflow down into my actual refugium, and then the second stage, I'm getting a very, very heavy buildup of detritus. So we talk about suspending the detritus a lot, and a lot of your videos say suspend it, suspend it, suspend it. At what point do we get rid of this detritus? What takes care of the detritus? Scientifically, I would think that if detritus is produced in the ocean, just out of nature doing its thing, there's got to be something to counterbalance that. So, and with this algae, you know, I've heard you say over and over again that on your 90-gallon tank at day 90 or less than, I think it was 60, you said that, you know, you had gotten rid of all this hair algae by managing your phosphates. And by managing your phosphates, you went through the chaetomorpha and made sure that your phosphate levels were very low. Well, as you can see, I have my chaetomorpha. I have I only have 2 fish in here for livestock other than actual cleanup crew, and my tank isn't progressing in the way that I want it. I'm trying to get this setup complete. I'd like to go into a bigger, in February or March, this is now December, I'm looking at going 300 gallon. So I want to make sure that I have it right before I make big mistakes. So looking at my green and my red or whatever it is, they told me, like I said, it's not red hair or green hair algae, it's just diatoms. I don't know. All I know is I went and I attempted to buy an anemone, and they advised, as long as I have this red hair stuff, don't bother. Don't get any LPSs, don't get any SPSs, don't get any anemones until all of this algae is gone and I start growing the coralline algae. Well, my coralline algae is starting to kind of grow, but it's not anywhere near where it needs to be. So I'm just looking for some advice. The refugium is looking good. The water flow is looking good. So in total, my pump down here is pumping up 400 gallons per hour. So through the filtration system of the refugium, I am pumping out through that clear tube up there. I need to get some lock pipe and actually lock pipe it in, but I'm pumping through filtration 400 gallons per hour in a 20-gallon tank. So that's 20 times the volume of the tank. And just water flow itself, I'm looking at, 205 in the back, 205 in the back, 405 up front, 800 plus the 400. So I'm looking at 1,200 gallons per hour of water flow. So I'm hoping I'm not having a water flow issue, and I made sure to watch one of your aquascape videos about aquascaping and making sure I have no dead zones. that's why I have my two back to the front and then one back and across. I even left some area along the back so that way I can actually get it. All that stuff you're seeing on the back is just dirt. I stirred up the tank a little bit when I put in my mineral mud and got some mud along the back. But all of this algae and stuff, I need to find a way to get rid of it and where I should head next. If you got any advice, or I know that you typically say if people ask you questions, you point them to other videos. Either way, it's fine. I just need to start getting on the right path and get this thing under control so that way I can actually start putting things in it I want rather than things I need. Right now I'm just being reactive and trying to get cleanup crews and my levels correct. And like I said, ammonia, nitrate, nitrite is fine. I don't really test for my phosphates yet. I don't have a test kit for that. I am purchasing one here soon. I need to start with my calcium and alkalinity and things like that. I also did get an Apex Junior down there, and what it's doing is it's actually cycling through my pumps so that way it can create a water flow that changes. So for 5 minutes at a time, each one of those pumps will turn off, and so the water isn't always pushing against itself. So they're on for like 20 minutes and then off for 5 each in a random rotation. So that way the water flow is always changing and always moving. But any advice anybody can give, let me know, and I'll keep track, and we'll see how the tank evolves. And then in March or February, if I can get this one under control and actually start producing some nice SPSs or LPSs, or at least make stuff survive, then we'll consider going to that 300-gallon tank. I'm going to get the 300-gallon tank regardless. It just depends on whether I go salt or fresh. It's just based on this tank. If this tank can actually do well, these fish are healthy. They got fat little bellies. They eat constantly. I'd like to get an anemone to host in, but at this point, I don't know where to go. Thanks for watching, and I hope to hear back from you.